Welcome back to This Day in Scottish History. I'm your host, Colin MacDonald. Today we travel back to the 24th of February, 1303, when Scottish forces, against all odds, secured a stunning victory over the English at the Battle of Roslin. A battle often overlooked, yet one of the most dramatic encounters in the First War of Scottish Independence. And if you're curious about other fascinating events that happened on this day in history, be sure to check out my blog at https bagtownclans.com/thisday. The link will be in the description. By the early 14th century, Scotland was in turmoil. Edward I of England, known as the Hammer of the Scots, had made it his mission to subjugate Scotland. With much of the country under English control, resistance was scattered and struggling. But Scottish defiance had not been extinguished. In the winter of 1303, an English force numbering between 10,000 and 30,000 men, led by Sir John Seagrave, marched north to strengthen England's grip on Scotland. Seagrave's army, overconfident in its size and power, camped near the village of Roslin, just south of Edinburgh. But they made a critical mistake. They split into three separate divisions, each stationed miles apart. The Scots, led by John Comyn, Guardian of Scotland, and the daring knight Simon Fraser, saw an opportunity. Though outnumbered, they knew the terrain and, more importantly, they had the element of surprise. In the dead of night, the Scottish forces, possibly no more than 8,000 strong, advanced toward the first English encampment. At dawn, they struck. The sleeping English troops awoke to chaos as the Scots tore through their lines, cutting them down and scattering the survivors. The first division was annihilated, but the battle was far from over. News of the attack reached the 2nd English Division, which quickly mobilised and marched to confront the Scots. But Comyn and Fraser, knowing they couldn't afford a prolonged fight, used the landscape to their advantage. They lured the English into a narrow valley where the larger force struggled to manoeuvre. Then, with ruthless efficiency, the Scots counter-attacked, crushing the 2nd Division just as they had the 1st. By now, the 3rd and final English division had been alerted and was closing in fast. Exhausted but emboldened, the Scots braced themselves for yet another brutal confrontation, and once again, through superior tactics and sheer determination, they routed the English forces for a 3rd and final time. Against all odds, the Scots had turned what should have been an impossible fight into a staggering victory. The Battle of Roslin was a remarkable triumph, showcasing the resilience and ingenuity of the Scots. But despite the scale of the victory, it was ultimately overshadowed by the greater reality of the war. Edward I remained a dominant force, and just a year later he would launch an overwhelming campaign that brought Scotland to its knees. Still, the battle holds an important place in Scottish history. It was a moment when, even in the face of overwhelming adversity, Scotland proved that it would never surrender easily. The warriors of Roslin fought with a ferocity that would inspire generations to come, reminding the world that Scotland's fight for independence was far from over. Thank you for joining me today on This Day in Scottish History. I hope you've enjoyed this tale of strategy, bravery, and defiance. Don't forget to check out my blog for more historical events at https://bagtownclans.com/thisday. Tune in tomorrow for another journey through Scotland's remarkable past. I am Colin MacDonald. Haste you back.